plaintiff, Christine Valencia, says a year after she started dating the defendant, she claims the defendant's behavior changed. And Christine suspects she was cheating. Christine is suing her ex-girlfriend for unpaid rent and the cost of a phone. Defendant Heather Pobleta and her cousin, Charmaine Pobleta, say Christine abused mushrooms and acid, and the drugs made her paranoid. Heather's countersuing because she claims Christine sent her and her family members harassing text messages.
All rise. This court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Greg Mathis presiding. You may now be seated.
Start with you.
Hi, Your Honor. Okay, so in March of 2019, Ms. Pobleti and I started dating. We dated for 2 years. In the beginning of our relationship, everything was great. We were like best friends. We did everything together. We cooked, we traveled, we had fun. Sometime a little over a year, I started noticing her behavior changing. She stopped being nice to me. We weren't really spending time together anymore. We weren't really hanging out with her friends.
What was she doing with her time?
I don't know. She was never at home. She wasn't around.
And you never asked. Okay. Go ahead.
Well, I would try to ask, but she wasn't responding to me.
She'd just be quiet?
No, she would just not pick up the phone or just wasn't around.
Oh, I thought you all lived together.
We lived together, but
But you don't have to pick up the phone. When you come home, you say.
When I would try to talk to her, when she would come home from work, she would go straight into her room.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I tried talking to her, she would tell me to leave her alone.
Don't have a clue why?
Yes, I do. So.
Oh, why?
I suspected that she was cheating on me.
Let me hear from you. You give me some background.
Hi, Your Honor. We were dating since 2019. As she said, it was a very good relationship up until the pandemic. She started using drugs. She was on mushrooms, acid. She was hanging out with her friends during the pandemic. I started hanging out with my family, who is my witness here today, Charmaine.
A family member?
She is a family member. She's my cousin. So she began using these drugs and becoming paranoid. Every little thing that I would do, she would accuse me of cheating. Everywhere I would go, she would accuse me of cheating. My cousin just had bought a house, and I was helping her paint, and I had to take video footage that I was there at her house in order to get into my apartment building. She would chain lock the door, and she would not open the door.
Just put them locks on, doctor. Ain't nothing to ask.
Exactly.
If you ain't here about midnight, ain't nothing to ask. No, you ain't got to tell me nothing. But how you going to get in here? That's what you need to be telling me. Put that chain across that door. Mm-hmm. She actually put a chain across the door.
She did, yes. To where I could not get into my own apartment. It got so bad, May of 2021, my gay best friend was in town from Arizona, and she accused me of cheating on her with him. And it got to a point where the argument was just so bad, she forced me out of the apartment.
Had you been known to date men in the past?
I have, yes,
Okay.
Your Honor.
So I was trying to see how far-fetched it was. Not too far-fetched, other than it's part of her usual, what you refer to as her typical paranoia. I say typical because you said she was like that often, right?
She was, yes.
All right, and she said it was you that ran off and went with a bunch of new friends with new activities, and to this day, she still doesn't know why.
And I mean, Your Honor, her forcing me out just caused a lot of harassment on her end.
How did she force you out?
She forced me out because she threatened to call the police if I didn't leave the premises.
Okay, so that's where the rent comes in and the cost of a phone. Let me hear from you on that, ma'am. She said, number one, you left all that out. She said you're a dope fiend. You want to address that first?
That is not true. I was not using drugs. I was paranoid because she was not coming home for nights at a time. And when I would ask her, she wouldn't respond.
Yeah, no crack, that's for sure. I don't know about the other drug. I can sniff out crack addicts, but no. Go ahead. No crack, that's for sure.
So, Your Honor, after the actual breakup, I had a lot of mutual friends that we have, and they confirmed that she was seeing other men. And when they took a trip, she was actually seeing hooking up with some.
They. How many of you all's mutual friends told you that? You said they.
2 friends of mine.
2 of them said yes, and they're a friend of hers as well?
Yes.
Are they still friends of hers?
I'm not sure.
Okay, all right. So they wasn't somebody's friend.
She would chain lock the door, and she would not open the door.
Just put them locks on, doctor. Ain't nothing to ask.
Exactly.
You ain't here, if you ain't here about midnight, ain't nothing to ask. No, you ain't gotta tell me nothing. But how you gonna get in here? That's what you need to be telling me. With that chain across that door.
Plaintiff Christine Valencia is suing her ex-girlfriend, who claims Christine sent her harassing text messages and threatened to expose their sex video to her family members.
What are you suing her for? The unpaid rent. Tell me about that.
The unpaid rent. In December of 2020, she did not pay rent because she was focused on her makeup and hair business, and apparently it wasn't doing well, so I had to cover that part of the rent because I didn't want to get evicted. And so the same story was for January, February, March, and April. She didn't pay all those months. I had to cover them. She always told me that she would get me back once her business took off. But because we were always arguing about her not coming home, she got upset with me, and on March 17th, she texted me and told me that she didn't love me anymore. And a couple of days later after that, she told me that she had signed the lease and that she was done with me and that she was leaving.
So she owes you from January to April?
Yes, and then the lease didn't end till August of 2021, so she also owed June and July. But for some reason, she paid me May of 2021.
When did she leave?
May of 2021.
All right. And she just paid May. She didn't pay January through April.
Mm-hmm. December through April.
Okay. All right, ma'am, let me hear from you.
So in the evidence packet, I do have on page 18 through 21, my bank statements showing that I did pay rent, and I sent it directly to Christine, and I actually paid more than the amount of rent.
I better not see any months that cover January through April, ma'am. And she's saying this so confident. Somebody's case about to be dismissed. You're saying that too confident. So that's a big confident lie, or that's a lie on your end. You say she hadn't paid a dime since from January to April. She says she has receipts in here that says she's paid more, that she sent directly to you. How much was the rent per month?
$675, Your Honor.
$675 was your?
My rent, yes.
All right.
My portion.
And we are going back to December of 20. We got a bunch of blackouts for December 20. You're sending it to your boyfriends. You didn't want me to mention that. January rent paid on January.
I wanted to make it known that I was paying.
$60. This is December. $600 January 4. Then, if we look at February, which you said she didn't pay any of, I see $500 to Christine, February 17th, $89, $20, another $800 on February 24th. What do you say, ma'am?
Your Honor, I believe those payments were made to me, but those were not towards rent. It was probably because she was also using a credit card of mine to use to buy supplies for her makeup and nail business. I have a statement here also where she paid rent just for May, and she has other stating that she's for a credit card payment, various for credit card payments for Amazon, makeup tote bag.
What about that? You're saying it's on her credit card?
That was on my credit card that she was paying me for. Those are payments towards my credit
Okay, do you know the total amount she charged on your credit card, or estimated amount?
It was a lot of money. She
Okay,
would pay
that's
me
not
little
good
by little.
enough. That's not an answer that I can use in determining my decision. A whole lot. That was her answer.
Well, I'm not trying to sue her for the credit card stuff.
That's
I'm
her
suing her for
defense
the
is
rent.
that it's rent. She's not agreeing that it's credit card.
But where does it say that it was for the rent? And it was never applied
She's
towards the
saying
rent.
that, that's why I was giving you a chance to dispute it. And so far, all I'm hearing is, I don't know, a lot. That was your response.
Sir, no,
It's a lot. All right.
I have a letter
The
from the
counterclaim for $5,000 is for what?
For emotional distress and harassment, Your Honor.
What'd she do to you?
She was sending me harassing text messages to me, my family, my best friends, my cousin. I've had to go to therapy because of it. I've had to pay out of pocket. I don't have insurance. And leading up to this case, looking through all the text messages and setting up all the evidence in this packet.
What's the harassment? Let's get to that. If you're falling out, y'all breaking up, and you're not getting any money for that. Neither one of you are. That's what happens in relationships. You break up. And if you awarded people emotional distress for everybody that breaks up or that has a bad breakup, the courts would be too full to handle anything else. And so my question is the harassment. That sounds like it might have some validity. What was it?
Well, I shared with her a trauma that happened to me in the past, that I was sexually assaulted by an attacker, and she used it against me in order for me to respond to her text messages. She was saying evil things like, I wanted it to happen to me.
You have any evidence that
I
you
do.
did that? What page?
It's on page... It's on pages 3, 4, 7, and 8, where she says that you're probably your attacker, you're so sick in the head, she's calling me a scammer. There are a whole bunch of screenshots of the text
I will
messages.
send one or more of our sex videos to your mama, to your daddy, to your brother, to your sisters, to your cousins. That is very much harassment and instills a lot of fear, I would assume, that your family is going to see what you do in your privacy of your with your partner.
Yes, sir.
And just telling you that, whether she's going to do it or not, that's enough to shock the senses. And the others, you say, what did she say again with regard to that?
That I wanted it and that I was making up lies that it happened to me.
How much was the rent per month?
$675, Your Honor.
We are going back to December of 20. We got a bunch of blackouts for December 20. If you're sending it to your boyfriends. You don't want me to mention that. January rent paid on January.
I wanted to make it known that I was paying.
Plaintiff Christine Valencia is suing her ex-girlfriend, who claims Christine sent her harassing text messages and threatened to expose their sex video to her family members.
This is certainly harassment, and harassment to the point of she would be traumatized, which would be emotional distress in this instance. This is something that would traumatize a person who has suffered through that. And gonna send sex videotapes. And with regard to the phone, how does she owe you for a phone?
Your Honor, she owes me for a phone because at one point we decided to get into a family plan. She got into my family plan and we upgraded phones. When she left me, she took the phone and she did not take the responsibility over the cost of the phone. And so therefore I'm still paying for that phone.
Ma'am, what do you say to the phone?
She cut the phone off while I was forced out of the apartment, so I believe I do not owe for that phone.
Well, if you all were breaking up, why don't you think you would have to pay for what you used? Or is it the physical phone you're suing for or the bill?
The physical phone.
Well, she got that phone as a BOGO for her family plan, and she was the one who said, you should get on this line because it's a buy
Did
one,
she
get
tell
one.
you would have to pay for it at any point?
No, she didn't.
It was a gift?
It was a gift,
Yeah,
correct.
that's what it sounds like. All right, and the rent, let's go over that again. And she says she's paid, you say she paid $0.
Your Honor, I even have a letter of our landlord saying that she did not pay her half the rent.
She pays you. It says the money went to you, ma'am. It didn't go to the landlord. It went to you. Your claim is dismissed. Have a good day. Yours is granted. That's the height of harassment. I apologize that you had to endure this.
Leading up to the case, I've had to pay out of pocket. And
Your Honor, I did not
Be
send those
quiet.
text messages.
God bless you. And we're going to say a prayer for you because I've read what she said and you've told me what happened to you. And this is very bad. Have a good day. Judgment for the counterclaimant. You're dismissed.
thank you. Just leave me alone, please. Just leave me alone.